And hello, everyone. Wednesday afternoon here, and hope everyone's doing great today. And well, with comic book fans and writers, we have Frank Krulicki here, who is actually a writer of a comic book that's actually on Kickstarter right now called The House of Wonders. So, Frank, if you can give us a little bit of an idea about that comic coming out.
Absolutely. Thanks for the opportunity, Greg. It's a galactic journey of self-discovery, and it sends our hero Sky Cruiser into battle against the evil Vir Magnus, leader of a lizard warrior race for the fate of the galaxy. It's an 88-page original graphic novel, sci-fi superhero action. It's we like to call it a draw-dropping, space-faring adventure. Harkening back to the good old days of the 1980s comic book era, which I personally think is the best era.
I don't know. I have to say, Marvel got me with the Infinity Gauntlet and Infinity Wars, and that was the 90s. So it was close to the 80s. So I have to give you that. But what got you started into writing?
Ever since I was a kid, I loved writing. When I was a young lad, I'm going to say 16, I sent scripts in to DC nonstop. They're horrible. Little typewriter, typing away. But I sent a short story into DC, and they actually bought it. I was like 16 or 17. I don't think it ever saw print. It might be in a drawer somewhere. But it was exciting for me to sell a script at that young age. Later in life, I learned that guys like Jim Shooter were working for DC at the age of 14, 15, and 16. So I guess I shouldn't be so surprised. But, then he sent me back. His name was Sal Amendola, I think his name was. Sal Amendola. He was in charge of new writers, I guess. And he gave me some ideas of how to improve my writing. I was a kid. I didn't know anything, so I just kind of got involved with sports, hockey, kind of left it to the side. And then I grew up, got a real job, had kids, a family, still always connected to the comic book community. I've been a comic book nerd since I was 10. But now that I'm retired, I thought, okay, let's get back into this. Let's see if I can do this. So I've always been writing throughout my career in my different career paths, but this is my first official Kickstarter and my first official attempt at a graphic novel.
Very nice. And I would assume that you do go to a lot of Comic Cons and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. My daughter and I have that connection. And so when she was probably 14, we started traveling North America together, going to comic conventions, and we'd collect art. That was our thing. I mean, she was into the anime and, cosplay. Not me so much. My cosplay costume was comic book nerd dad. So I always wore something like this. Not very original. So we would just line up and talk to comic book artists and writers. And I really got a lot of strong friendships with the comic book community, especially with the Canadian artists and writers. And so that's kind of how I've stayed into the business. I've collected comics since I was 10, sold my first collection to pay for my university, sold my second collection to pay for my master's. And so now I sadly just have trade paperbacks and those types of things.
Yeah, they still work.
They do.
Now, with the Kickstarter, what kind of offerings are you giving the people?
I'm excited. So my team is my artist is Alberto Crespo. You may not know his name now, but you will in about a year. Hopefully, partly because of the Kickstarter, but he just got picked up. Can't say by who, but one of the big two. And they love his stuff. I got to this guy early. He also tried to break in when he was younger. Wasn't as proficient as he is today. He's from Spain, and so he entered the art world, and he has gallery showings all around Europe. Just some beautiful landscapes and portraits. And so again, he's around 40, I think, 35, 40. He thought, I'm going to try getting into comics again. And so somehow we connected. I don't exactly remember how. His art, I think, is fantastic. It is absolutely beautiful. And then my letterer is Corey Breen, and he has designed books and lettered for all the big two, Image, all the independents. And he also is on board doing some art. Now, you could back Kickstarter, you get a digital copy of the book, or you can get a physical copy of the book. Both Alberto and Corey did some variant covers, and so you can get those. We also have Mark McKenna, who to me is 1980s comic books. He was an inker for DC and Marvel. He's still big in the community. He's doing commission spots for us as rewards. And then fan favorite Walden Wong. He's always at all the conventions. People love getting his art. He's also doing some commission rewards. We've already sold the original art to 2 of the covers as a reward. We also have a t-shirt that we're selling. The big reveal I did a couple weeks ago is I was able to snag Emmy award-winning artist Chuck Patton. He won his Emmy for drawing Spawn for Netflix. And he was a big 1980s Justice League of America comic book artist. And so I was so excited to get him. So he's doing our number 1 variant cover. And so you can choose that as a reward as well.
Very nice. Now, we do have a question here is what is your favorite comic?
Oh, Legion of Superheroes. Don't even have to think about that. And the House of Wonders is an homage to all of my favorite stuff in the 1980s. So you will see Legion of Superhero homages, George Perez. Our main cover, Alberto did an homage to Teen Titans #1. Firestorm is in there. DC, I was a big DC kid growing up in the 80s.
So definitely Batman and Superman.
I like them, but I love Legion of Superheroes.
There we go.
Yeah.
Now, with all this going on, I know you're almost there for your Kickstarter. So people, if you do watch, and if you're watching, definitely go check out the Kickstarter and see what kind of rewards they're giving. It's definitely well worth it.
Please do. We're at 80%, which is awesome. We have 13 days left. So we're almost there. The book is done. It's completely finished. We're just kickstarting to get the first publishing run going. And then we actually have a publicist, which is awesome. And so once we get this through Kickstarter, he is getting it in stream to get into all the comic book shops, preview magazines, and whatnot. But this is kind of like a proof of concept because 2 out of 3 of us are relatively unknown in the comic book world on this side of things. So super excited about it. We have a lot of stretch goals that we'd love to hit and a lot of really neat stuff that if we get over $6,000 that we can reveal. A lot of extra stuff that we'd love to give away to everyone who backs us. So, I mean, I would love to get to 12,000 so we can make this a hardcover, but I'll take getting 6,000 so we can print it. Anywhere in between, lots of stretch goals.
What was the hardest part about doing a comic?
I think it's harder than people think. And so going in, I thought I can write. I'm a good writer. It'll be easy. And then you got to convey it to the artist. And then the artist on my end happens to be Spanish. So he speaks English, but it wasn't he's not perfect in English, as I'm not perfect in Spanish. So there are some translation issues there. But so coordinating between the artist and the letterer, the book designer, it was interesting. It was trying to figure it out and move things around. And I think that for me, that was the hardest part, but just the length of time that it takes. I never imagined it takes a year to get something of this size put together. I don't want to name drop, but a good friend of mine who works for DC Comics, Jason Fabok, he told me how long it took him to do the Three Jokers. I knew when he started that, and it was a long time before we saw light of day. So it just goes to show you, stuff that you work on today may not see light of day for 2 to 3 years, sometimes.
Now, you did say that this was, if I'm correct, 80 plus pages?
It's an 88-page graphic novel. It has a complete ending, but we're hoping to do a book 2 and a book 3. We do have a 3-part story, each of them 88 pages, and we'll get this one done first before we get to the second one.
It's actually just 88 pages of comics is well worth it. That's basically 4 comic books and
absolutely
one. If I recall the number of pages correctly, I think it's like 22 to 24 per comic book.
Yep. Yeah. When we pitched this around, we did pitch it as a 4-part miniseries. But we just decided to put it together and go for it.
Now, what's been the biggest struggle with Kickstarter for you? Has it been just the anticipation, or?
It's a fun but scary ride. Kickstarter hasn't been a problem for us. We got a good start. We're pushing hard. I get great feedback from people who've seen the first chapter. A couple of my comic book buddies have seen the whole book and have given me some positive reviews that hopefully they'll post towards the end of the campaign to spur things on. But I think the hardest part, or the struggle, if you call it a struggle, is you continually want to refresh and see the number count go up. So like for an hour, you see nothing. And then you go, oh, this is good, doomed to failure. And then the next hour you got 5. You're like, oh, they like me. It's just, so I had to learn quickly within that first week, check twice a day, once in the morning, once at night, calm down and just let it be.
Yeah. I hope you don't do that right before you go to bed, because that could get your mind completely going.
Sadly, I do.
And you're probably up for about an hour thinking about it.
Yeah, that's about right.
Now, another question, is it full color or is it black and white, or is it going to be a little bit of both?
No, it's full color. Alberto Crespo, our illustrator, also does the coloring. And it just pops. It looks fantastic. I keep saying that. I can't believe I have him, because he's going to blow up here in the next year. I know what he's working on right now for the big company, and I've seen some of the pages. I don't know if I'm supposed to, but he's so good. Yeah, cut that part out.
I wish I could, but we are live. Now, can people find you online anywhere besides the Kickstarter?
Absolutely. My website is www.cuttingedgecomics.ca. So my short-term goal, get this Kickstarter done, get my book out. Long-term goal is I have a couple other projects in the slot that we'll put out under the Cutting Edge Comics banner. 2 that are mine and 1 that is someone else's. And so I would like to be able to do that for people. I'm 55 years old. I'm retired. I took early retirement. I love comic books. I just want to spend the rest of my life, however long I have, doing comics. I've wanted to bring my idea to life, and I'm almost reached that goal. And I want to help other people bring their ideas to life. And so I love working with other people. That's part of what my old job was. I a coordinator of working with people. And if I can do that to get other people to get their dream realized, then I'd like to be a part of that. I'm not saying I'm going to be the next Image or the next Skelp Comics, but I certainly would like to find my piece of the pie in the independent comic scene.
Definitely. Now, do you have any other books out, or is this going to be your first one?
This is my first one. I have another one in the pipeline ready to go. I can't say what it is. We got to clear the title still, but it's an underwater superhero adventure. And then we have a monster book as well that potentially will come out, and then hopefully book 2 and book 3 of the House of Wonders.
Very nice. Now, before we go, just to let you know, Mish, next one will be on Tuesday. I haven't really, I mean, I know who it is, but I don't know who it is, kind of. I can't say the name. I'm at a loss of words right now. But I do want to thank Frank for being on the show today. It was wonderful having you here. And hopefully we're going to get you pushed a little bit closer to that goal for you.
Well, thank you so much, Greg. All the listeners out there, good questions. Anybody wants to shoot me an email through my website or through the Kickstarter, if you have any other questions, I'm free and open to talk.
Very nice. And everyone, I will catch you on next Tuesday, actually, with our show and with the next conversation. And until then, everyone, adios.